I again. 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, page 158. In the chapter Bringing Zone 1 into Line, Schnell has been assigned to parts of Ohio counties and Pennsylvania counties and is trying to bring theocracy into full formation. The spy system extended is this subhead. This surveillance committee, so closely after the judge's epistle, served to alert me. I sensed that the old society leadership under the judge was waning, and the new leadership was already feeling its way in. And I, having rejected a Bethel berth offered by the new leadership, was right in the middle. I also realized that we now had reached the stage where the same spying system used among the office personnel was also being introduced into the field. For example, I now knew that the society had established a counter-liaison against me through the company servant and his assistant in Jefferson, the two men who delivered the 22-page letter. That is the letter we heard about last time from Rutherford himself. You can be sure that I never again revealed a thing to them by word or mien, yet by means of this spy system, a general condition of uncertainty had been created in the field. I knew very well from my experience how disturbing that could be and how little peace one could enjoy under such conditions. The budding new leadership, which was preparing to take over after the judge died, considered this spy system in the field a matter of necessity. In order to work in consortium and by compromise, everyone had to be mediocre. Brilliance or independence were not permissible. It had to be nipped in the bud wherever it showed itself. That is why they considered the spy system necessary to survival. But even before this, the policy of the Watchtower Society had always been to create classes and to pit one against the other, to create strains and stresses causing turmoil and strife. That is why I liken this organization to the idol Moloch. Within it there is kept going a constant fire, and into this fire are thrown the kingdom publishers to be tortured and tormented into submission. I could not get out, even though I could see the handwriting of doom on the wall as far as my position was concerned, with this new clique coming into power. I was in a veritable hell. My thoughts troubled me, my conscience tortured me. I tried to get out, but every time I almost made it, something seemed to pull me right back into the cauldron again. At any rate, I must have been given a clean bill of health by the Bethel confidant who visited me at Connaught. This theocratic spy told me, "I like what you're doing, just keep your nose clean." And its next heading is, "I am a faithful slave." So I continued to go through the motions for the society. In Connaught, I split the company in two and started another company in Ashtabula. Geneva also was my territory, and so was Painesville. After completing my work there, I swung south to Sharon, Pennsylvania, where I also split the existing company, starting a new company in Mercer. Then I proceeded to Newcastle, where changes were necessary. There I put a young fellow in the place of an older man who was rather independent and therefore harder to handle. Swinging into Columbiana County, I found the same conditions of strife prevailing in East Palestine, where the company servant was an extraordinary man with the most conflicting news. Naturally, I decided that he must go. I should have said, an extraordinary man with the most conflicting views. Naturally, I decided he must go. In Lisbon, I split the company three ways, starting a new one in Rogers and another one in Columbiana. That about completed my first swing around the zone. With the dawning of the year 1939, I was set to make the necessary changes of personnel in the zone. I believed that it would be easy to sell the society on the new setup. At the same time, I was ready to carry out my assignment to create an issue in the territory of the zone. So I set to work in true Watchtower fashion. I took all men who I believed would acquiesce, together with those whom I wanted out of Youngstown, and gave them a pep talk. I told them that they were needed to establish the theocracy in these smaller and newer companies round about Youngstown, which I had just got organized. Then, during my second visit to Youngstown, I organized new companies in Salem, Canfield, Lowellville, and Hubbard. In this way, I stopped the publishers effectively from running all over the landscape and forced them to concentrate on their own neighborhoods. This greatly increased the effectiveness of the training program. Next, I manned the new positions in all these newer and smaller companies with such brethren whose influence I wanted to break in their own congregations. Youngstown Company furnished servants for Hubbard, Lowellville, Sharon, Mercer, Newcastle, Salem, Canfield, and of course itself. Niles furnished servants for itself, Girard, Greene, and Newton Falls, Connaught for Ashtabula, Lisbon for Rogers and Columbiana. By spring of 1939, I had completed one phase of my work. I had broken up everything and recast it into new forms. I soon learned that I was not liked very much for what I had done. The smarter knew why I had done this. It appeared for a while that open revolt might break out against me. Efforts began to be made to blacken me with the society. This pleased the new forming leadership of the coming Third Watchtower Society very much. It would furnish them the opportunity, when my usefulness was at an end, to use pressure from below to remove me. The fact that I knew that such letters were going in, and that I was not receiving copies of them, as we had been told we would, proved to me what was being contemplated. Furthermore, I knew that this was the Society's way of doing things. Had I not practiced it myself in Magdeburg, that is, in his German assignment before he came to New York Bethel? Put in a link to Jacques Ellul on the nature of propaganda. At the very same time as all this is happening, under the guise of anti-fascism in America, at the very same time in Europe, propaganda is succeeding at an all-time high level. Jacques Ellul tells that story, and it may be the most famous book produced on propaganda in the 20th century, the book called Propaganda. Here's a glimpse at it in the video that's on your screen. See you soon.